If you know anything about cars, you know that the Toyota GR Yaris is a cranky little tiny tot. And now it's been revised with more power, more anger, and an automatic transmission has been made available as well. In this review, I'm going to tell you what it's like to drive on a daily basis and also how it goes on the track with the auto gearbox. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring that bell and let's get to it. The Toyota GR Yaris might be a tiny performance car, but it doesn't have a tiny price tag. The entry-level version starts at just over $55,000 for the GT manual. You'll need to add a few grand if you want it with the 8-speed automatic transmission. And then there's the GTS version, which adds more features and more performance elements to it, but it costs more than $60,000 for the manual and a few grand more again for the automatic. So this is a heap of cash for a tiny, tiny car, but you're getting plenty of spec and tech for the money. So you're getting standard things like LED lights, lovely looking alloy wheels. There's a carbon fiber roof on the top spec version. All versions come with keyless entry and push button start. There's been revisions to the styling and better cooling for the high grade versions, and the auto models as well have special cooling tech. And in the high grade version, you're still getting the Torsen limited slip differential front and rear. So all of that seems to make this come in as a very interesting choice for those who are looking for something performancy and tiny. But I've got some alternatives that you might want to think about if you're thinking about this. All right, so you're thinking you want something small and fast and fun, you have to go and have a look at the Mini Cooper JCW. The updated version is seriously punchy and powerful, and it has a serious amount of charm and charisma too. Some interesting design elements on the inside, and well, it's got that charming mini exterior design and the go-kart handling that you will love if you're into minis. But another hot hatch I think it would be foolish not to consider is the Hyundai i20N. For the money, it is a fantastic, fun little hatch, manual only and front wheel drive. So a different proposition to the Yaris, but certainly a lot of fun and certainly very characterful. It's got a decent amount of space, a decent amount of practicality, and the price is right for the i20N, in my opinion. And finally, I've got a really interesting option for you. Forget new cars, go and have a look at a used Mark 8 Ford Fiesta ST. That's right, go and have a look at the redriven used car review, and you'll find a link in the description to that, and you'll see why that car is an underappreciated model, and it could be an asset if you are looking for something that could be semi-collectible as well. So, would you choose any of those or something else? Let me know in the comments. This boxy little beauty is absolutely tiny, less than 4 meters in length. In fact, I'll put all the dimensions on your screen now so you can see for yourself. It has a much wider track than the standard versions. You can see those pumped arches at the rear, and wow, this 3-door profile is absolutely gorgeous. I'm getting Scirocco vibes. If that rings a bell to you, you'll know what I'm on about. Now, let's talk about weights for this model. So it does have a lighter manual model at 1280 to 1305 kg, depending on which variant, and 1300 to 1325 for the automatic model, and it's strictly a 4-seater, so keep that in mind too. I'll show you the backseat space shortly, or the lack thereof. Now let me show you in the boot here. Hopefully the light isn't too bad. I'll step out of the way so you can see better. There you go. That is not a whole lot of space. There is a parcel cover, which is a very flimsy one. It's soft, designed to be soft, and underneath there you won't find a spare either. You've got a tire repair kit and your 12-volt batteries there to help with weight distribution. On the sides, there's not much to speak of, not much in the way of amenities, so this is not a practical Yaris, but if you want that, go and have a look at the Yaris Cross. It's a little SUV. This, well, it's definitely a tool for having fun and making you smile. And let's go look at the interior and see what it's like. Okay, so here's your point of view perspective of the interior of the GR Yaris updated model. Yep, there are some pretty big changes in here. It feels much more upmarket than before, and part of it comes down to this 12.3-inch digital instrument display in front of the driver, which has multiple different menus and screens available to you. You can adjust them using the controls on the steering wheel. Obviously, there's a bit more info on screen when you are driving, but that gives you an idea of what you can toggle through on on that screen. And then you've got the 8-inch touchscreen media system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You've got sat-nav built in as well. This screen is familiar to plenty of other models in the Toyota range, and it's certainly not the most info-rich setup. And you can do Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, as I said, sat-nav as well, but honestly, it's just a screen in a lot of ways, and that might be okay for you if you are just going to use your smartphone mirroring primarily. Now, the reason that it's been sort of rehoused into this different position is because the existing one popped up too high and you had a bit of a letterbox view out when you were driving, especially when you were driving fast. And this is now much more fit for purpose, in my opinion, in terms of the way it's been redesigned. You've got a lovely steering wheel. The controls on here are all very simple and easy to get your head around. You've got the blinkers in the right spot, your wipers on the right side, and obviously you do have some other nice elements to this cabin in terms of the controls. So obviously you've got your climate control panel down here, dual zone climate control, and yeah, you can use these buttons to quickly adjust things. You don't have to go through the screen to muck around with your fan controls, which is a win. And yep, little knobs for your controls, which is great if you're driving spiritedly. Now, you'll also find that this high-grade version gets a heated steering wheel, heated seats, but they're just single-stage heating. It's not multi-stage like some other models. And your drive mode control is there. Your GR4 all-wheel drive system controller is there, so you'll need to get your grips with that one. Thankfully, it's nicely located next to the shifter, so it's easy to find and easy to adjust on the roll. You've got your intelligent manual transmission button down there, so that's the rev match function. Drive mode selector is there. Gear shifter, it's a nice stubby little unit, I like it. And a manual handbrake, I wonder what that's for. But the big thing here is you don't get any center armrest, so there's nowhere to really rest your arms on a longer trip, which might be something that you want to consider. You do get cup holders, a little storage tray. Over here, there's a shelf in front of the passenger with a USB-C port, and there's a decent sized glove box. Decent trenches in the doors too, but one thing that you might want to be mindful of if you're an enthusiastic driver is, well, there's no soft padding on the edges here for you to rest your legs when you are giving it a bit of a pump. So that might be something you want to keep in mind. But these seats will keep you in place pretty well, I would say. They're very comfy, manually adjustable, so you do have the ultimate level of adjustment. But the other thing in here is that it's very dark. So you've got a very dark headliner, and it can be very doomy feeling. You've got mirrors up here, but they're not illuminated, so that's another darkness factor. Up here you've got your lights. Hey, I've got to illuminate things somehow, don't I? You've got an SOS call button up there, which will help you get in touch with Toyota Roadside Assist if you need to. This car will also call the emergency services to help you out if you are in a crash and airbags are deployed. But also, you need to pay a subscription to it after a year of ownership, so that's a little bit dodge, in my opinion. Here, you've got your auto-dimming rear vision mirror, and I think that this is a nicely finished and nicely changed cabin. The adjustments that have been made here, definitely worthwhile. So let's jump in the second row and see if I can fit. I'm going to jump into the passenger side rear for this bit because, well, that's my driving position and I won't fit behind it on the driver's side straight off the bat. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be as roomy as you might be hoping, but here you also need to keep in mind there's no quick release handle up the top of the seat to easily move this seat forward. You can do it like that and then slide the seat like so. And let me jump in and see how we go. Right, so that seat is now set to where it was before, which is almost identical to my driving position. You can see my knees are hard up against it. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room back here. And headroom, well, none. Like you'd have to be 5'6" or so to be comfortable in the back here. But if you do have kids, there are ISOFIX points in the window seats. Both of them are window seats because there's only 2 seats in the very back here. They're little hidden ISOFIX points. There's top tethers for both sides as well. You do get armrests on the side, which is great. Hard scratchy plastic though, and you can easily tuck these seat belts away if you want to using these clips on the side. So if you're running to the track with spares, then you'll be able to do so a little bit easier. No rear air vents, no map pockets on the seat backs, no armrest, but there is this little section here which is kind of useless as well. So certainly not the ideal Uber car, but hey, I think for an indulgent purchase that could still work as a second car for most small families, it might be all right. Under the bonnet of the GR Yaris is a thrummy 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine. It's a powerhouse, people. 221 kilowatts of power, 400 Newton meters from 3 cylinders. Are you kidding me? And that's whether you choose the 6-speed manual transmission or the 8-speed auto, which has got short ratios and a manual mode and a launch control mode as well to make it feel more manually. Of course, you've got the variable all-wheel drive system as well with normal, gravel and track modes, and both the manual and the auto and the GT and the GTS models have the claimed 0 to 100 time of 5.1 seconds. So speedy little thing, no doubt about that. Let's go for a drive and see what it's like. So what's the GR Yaris like to drive? Well, in this part of the video, we're driving the manual version. The automatic wasn't available for the on-road part of this test, but the manual is still a bit of a sweetie, I reckon. If you do enjoy the thrill of driving, I think the manual will be the pick anyway. That seemed to be the case in the Corolla, but I think that this is still a very, very fun car with heaps and heaps of grunt. For a 3-cylinder engine, there's so much power here. I've got it in the track mode at the moment, which makes it more rear biased. Now we're going downhill, so that's why you probably can't hear much engine, but when you are giving it some, you get a bit of a nice thrum through the body of the car, through into the cabin, and it's got nice noise to it, this car. I like the turbo whoosh and the little bit of wastegate noise you get as well. And it feels pretty mechanical to drive. So if you're thinking, you know, I want a simple, sedate hot hatch experience, this is not that. This is far more focused. And because of the 4-wheel drive system, it really does power out of corners. Oh, goodness. And it brakes well too. So it does have pretty strong stopping power. It's not a heavy vehicle, and it feels pretty light and chuckable in the corners. And the fact that you do have the configurability of the drive modes to change the way the 4-wheel drive system is operating and the bias between front and rear, well, that makes all the difference when it comes to the handling characteristics of this car. And yeah, but there are some penalties you have to pay. As I mentioned, the manual misses out on some of the safety and convenience stuff that you might want, but it also is very, very loud in here. There's lots and lots of tire roar coming into the cabin. Obviously you can hear plenty of engine noise as well. Oh yeah, we're gonna rotate through there. Oh, what a weapon. This is awesome. Now, unlike some of the other hot hatches that you might consider, well, this does have a different kind of dynamism and ride and handling to it. The ride, well, it feels still a little bit sort of roly-poly at times. You get a bit more body roll than you might be expecting. Obviously, it is primarily designed with rally driving as the primary fun factor here, but yeah, it's still a pretty firm ride in a lot of situations, but it's never uncomfortable in my mind. Despite the fact that it's got a pretty short wheelbase, it does have a really wide track that helps it feel stable and comfortable and, well, surprisingly agile as well. Now, this is not like some front-wheel drive hot hatches which do have a very tactile experience. So you feel a lot of what's going on at the front axle, and the steering is different as a result of that. Just excuse the bags rolling around in the back there. But
sorry, I can't.
It's Matt. It's Matt. It's Matt Brand. It's Matt Brand. Say hi, Matt.
Hello. God, what an angle.
Just listen to this. We'll get a bit of a turbo whoosh going. I love that sound. It's addictive, and you do get to hear a lot of it, I have to say, because if you're on and off the throttle, it does, well, tell you what's going on with the engine by way of the experience. And I have to say, the experience here is just so promising and so enjoyable, but it does cost a lot of money, this car. So yeah, there's that to keep in mind. And there's also the fuel economy to keep in mind. I mean, it is a 3-cylinder engine, but geez, it's a highly stressed one. Out we go in the GR Yaris onto Winton Raceway. And if you can hear a slight sort of buzzing or pump sound, maybe you probably can't over the engine noise, but that is the intercooler spray system, and it sounds like a washer pump just pushing some water out onto the intercooler to keep things cool. Righto, so this is the GTS version. It has the intercooler stuff. It's got the automatic transmission. It's got extra cooling built in to keep the transmission nice and cool. And also, it's got the Torsen limited slip front and rear differentials. So in theory, it should be a cornering hero. Let's find out. Now we are in sport mode with the track all-wheel drive orientation chosen. And we are going to give it a bootful out of this corner. Yeah, that's quick. You can definitely feel the weight advantage this has over the Corolla. It's about 280 kilos difference. So this one is definitely a bit more chuckable feeling and certainly more thrusty feeling when you put your foot down. Same sort of thing with the automatic transmission though. It's not quite as snappy as, you know, a dual clutch automatic transmission might be in a car like this, but it is still very, very sharp with its changes and has great logic, and it lets you rev this engine hard. One thing I love about this Yaris is that it has this tiny wheelbase, so it feels like it's sort of rotating around you when you take a corner, lift off. Yes. It's just so much fun. It's definitely the one to pick if you're looking for the grin factor in your car. It might not necessarily be as refined or as practical as the Corolla GR, but let me tell you, it's the one that makes you want to keep driving. This is the one. And the way you can just chuck this thing is just so good. Love the steering, love the way it handles, love the all-wheel drive system. I think I'm in love with this car. All right, so let's talk fuel consumption. On your screen, you're going to see a couple of numbers pop up for the manual and automatic, but we haven't seen anywhere close to those sorts of figures on this drive in the manual on road. In fact, seen a pretty high number, but this has been across a mix of drivers and mainly enthusiastic driving. So if you are a hoon, you could probably bet on doing about 13 litres per 100. But if you're more conscientious of the way that you drive, maybe you'll be able to see closer to those claimed numbers. No safety rating available for the GR versions of the Yaris, but it does come with all the safety spec you would expect in the manual, and the auto gets a bit more as well. So let's talk about the standard stuff you're getting. Autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. There's adaptive cruise control. Now you get better adaptive cruise if you choose the automatic because it can do stop start and stuff like that. There's also better park maneuver assistance in that auto version, so it can use the sensors to stop you from hitting things, whereas the manual doesn't have that functionality. And you've also got blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert and lane keeping assistance and lane trace assist as well, and plenty of other stuff besides that. Thankfully, none of the safety tech is annoying, which is awesome. I bloody love that in a car like this. And there is speed sign recognition as well, but it doesn't bing and bong at you, so that's a big thumbs up from me. And when it comes to the airbag coverage, you've got 6 dual front side and curtain coverage for both rows of seats, but there's no front center airbag like some other new models have. Toyota Australia offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty for its model range, and if you maintain the vehicle on time, including the GR Yaris, you could be eligible for a 7-year powertrain warranty too. So keep that in mind if you are going to buy one of these cars, because it could be the difference between having a very good ownership experience and maybe not the best. But keep in mind also that your service intervals are every 6 months and 10,000 kilometres, so it's a little bit needy when it comes to the maintenance stuff. But hey, it probably should be for a performance model. And the service costs, well, they're about $310 for the manual. The auto model, you'll see the price for it on your screen now. And keep in mind as well that you have to pay extra for roadside assistance if you are buying a Toyota. Some other brands give it to you for free when you do pay for your servicing. But hey, Tell me what you think about the ownership experience potential for this vehicle in the comment section below. And if you're wondering about track use, well, you have to check in with Toyota and make sure that you won't be doing anything to void your warranty while you're driving on the track, and it will be assessed on a case-by-case basis, the brand says. There you have it, the GR Yaris is an absolute corker of a machine, and these improvements, well, they've made it even better than it already was. The 8-speed auto will be a good fit for plenty of people's needs, but tell me which one you would choose, manual, auto, GT, GTS, or one of those alternatives I mentioned earlier on. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.